What was supposed to be the greatest LPSCon ever turned out to be a disaster.
You know they're gonna say what they're gonna say. You know they're gonna say what they're gonna say.
Before we start this video, I just want to say that this is not any type of hate video, and if there's any hate in the comments, I will be deleting your comment. This video is simply explaining what happened at LPSCon for those of you who weren't there, and also just giving some pieces of feedback on how they can improve the convention in the future. Absolutely no form of hate or any threats will be tolerated on this channel, okay? Everyone is human and everyone has feelings, so let's just be mindful of what we are saying, people. First up, I'll be talking about the complaints, then I'll move on to possible solutions, and thirdly, I'll move on to a positive from the experience. Also, I will be having a vlog of the convention with more clips coming this Saturday, so keep your eyes peeled. Make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for that. First and foremost, and I think probably the biggest complaint I've seen everywhere, is definitely that the venue was too small. There were over 1,000 people attending the con, and I've never been to that venue before. I've been to LPSCon 2 other times besides this time, and then also the time virtually, so technically 4 if you want to count it. But I've never attended this venue before, and it was very tight. Most of the vendors were on this first floor in the middle, and it sort of made it hard to get around. People were constantly bumping into each other and apologizing. It was definitely very hard to move and get through. There were also quite a few people in wheelchairs, and I just imagine how difficult that must have been, like trying to maneuver through those crowds, and it must have been extremely stressful, and yeah, it was very overwhelming. Yeah? This venue was 3 stories high, but the first floor was all for the standard ticket holders, and there were a lot of standard ticket holders, so the top 2 floors were reserved for content creator passes only, and for VIPs, and all that. Or supposedly, but that's a whole nother thing. There's a lot to cover in this video. But the ratios of how they were proportioned through like the amount of tickets were not the greatest in my opinion. So definitely space was a big issue. There also were not enough tables for everyone to be sitting on, which is why they implemented the idea of table rotation. So every, I don't know how long it was, every few minutes you got up and you had to swap tables with everyone. I saw some parents who were not very happy about this, as well as LPS fans, because most parents just want to sit down and relax and have their kid go do their own thing, and most parents don't want to move. People were not thrilled by this idea. It was a cool idea. They did give out prizes to the fastest table who could switch, but I think it just ultimately led to a lot of chaos and a lot of people losing their stuff. Another complaint that I've seen a lot is the heat. Vegas is very hot, especially during the summer. It was over 100 degrees and the food trucks were outside with no shading. I was in line, I was like, you know, it'd be great if they put up some umbrellas or something, because it was so hot waiting in that line for, I don't know, maybe almost half an hour, then waiting to get the food. That they were very understaffed, the people at the food, which is not LPSCon's fault, but that's literally like the food truck, you know, you only can have like 2 people in there at a time, which made me to get 1 drink. It took like over half an hour, I believe, to get that beverage. That was $8. But again, LPSCon doesn't really have too much say over vendor prices and the concession prices, because those are their own individual businesses. So yeah. Another complaint I've seen online a lot is the goodie bags. If you're a content creator, you would get a goodie bag, and for reference, like, here's the standard admission. It was about $49. For a content creator pass, I believe it was almost $130. And one of the perks would be you get a goodie bag. From what I have seen online, a lot of people got, like, most people actually that I've seen got G4 LPS, so you know, these ones. One of the people I was talking to, she actually got a headless one, so it was just the head, no body, just the head. And yeah, I heard the goodie bags were a big disappointment. I did not get one because I didn't have the content creator pass. I was helping out with some of the VIPs, so oh my goodness, this next one is very sad too. But a lot of people were disappointed about the communication and just the scheduling, and about the panels and everything. There were supposed to be 4 panels, and you know, I honestly don't even know if there were 4 panels. I think that there was only 3 for some of the creators or something. I don't know. I'm honestly still confused about this, guys. But yeah, apparently like the time schedules on the little pamphlets we got at the convention were wrong, and this caused like a lot of parents to be, you know, upset, as well as collectors and fans to be upset too, which is totally understandable. Also, something I noticed is in the email that we got from LPSCon in the few days leading up to the convention, the times were very different from the ones on the pamphlet. Not very different, like half an hour difference. And another thing I've heard is that the VIPs, they didn't get much of a break. As you can see, their schedule is pretty back to back. They had, let's see, I'll put a picture on the screen of the pamphlet. Basically, they had 2 panels supposedly, and then they had like a little, like half an hour break, and then they had the meet and greet, and then they had 2 more panels supposedly. I don't really know which of the panels got canceled. I think it was like the 2 p.m. or 2:30 one. This is all confusing. Now, some things that I didn't directly observe, but I'm gonna link some Instagram posts in the description box for you guys if you guys are curious or want to hear the full story. Basically, some of Tiki's art was being sold, some of her customs, and somebody claimed to have lost a bag the previous year of some LPS customs from Tiki. You know, the bag was never returned to the original owner, and so this year at the convention, they saw their lost LPS being sold by the LPSCon people. So this caused a lot of confusion, and yeah. But the person did get their LPS back at the end. Yeah. Another thing people are saying online is about the dragons, the SDCC San Diego Comic-Con dragons that Basic Fun sent LPSCon, and LPSCon said that there would be 4 and later changed it to 6, and because Basic Fun had given them 6 dragons and they were only going to give away 4, so people are like, what is LPSCon doing with the other 2? Are they keeping them from themselves or whatever? LPSCon did sort of make like an apology explanation post, and they did talk about the dragons, how they wanted to save 2 for the next year's LPSCon. But in my opinion, I think that they should have asked Basic Fun if that was the case in the first place before announcing that they only had 4 to give away. I'm honestly super bummed, but I had to leave at 5:30, so I had to miss the cake. First of all, I love the cake at LPSCon. And second of all, I had to miss all the raffles, so I'm not really sure how many dragons ended up being given away, but comment down below if you know. Also, apparently whoever won got swarmed by a lot of people, which was sort of a security issue and a safety issue, but you know, I'm not really sure. That's sort of hard to regulate, but I think it could have been handled a little bit better. Another story that you might see on Instagram is somebody there had diabetes and they weren't allowed to bring their own food into the venue. However, on this, I do want to comment that the venue might have not allowed outside food, so that could have been a whole thing itself. Water was also another big issue at the con. At first, you had to pay 50 cents for water, which is not terrible in my opinion. And then they ran out of water. And then at the end, they had free water. But I was very dehydrated that whole day. Another thing is that a lot of people online are saying that the staff were rude. I personally didn't have any terrible experiences with the staff. I do think that some of them could have been maybe a little more friendly, but at the same time, I literally think that this is just the hosts, like family and friends, and they're probably just volunteering and giving their time to do this. But I do agree that there could have been like a training or something. And then yeah, overall it was just very loud because of the small atmosphere, and there was a lot of yelling into microphones, and I know that it's so hard to host a 1,000 person convention, so like let's not be like so brutal about it, but at the same time there was a level of professionalism that I feel like it missed the mark a little bit. At the same time, like, good job to her for hosting a convention, but I think that there's also a few things like general admission and content creator passes being able to go on the same floor. So originally floors 2 and 3 were supposed to be for the CC passes only, but because there wasn't really somebody checking, anyone could just go on to any floor. And this sort of made the CC passes like not worthwhile. Like a lot of people paid extra for the same benefits as each because they weren't really regulated too much. And then another thing is apparently the bag checks were just a little peak. I didn't have to go through security. Is that a terrible thing to say? That might be a terrible thing to say, but I showed up early and I was helping out some of the VIPs, so yeah, but apparently there was just a little peek in a bag, so a lot of people didn't feel safe at the convention. But I know I have been to LPSCon in the past, and in the email there was supposed to be a bag check, and there never was in previous conventions, so I think this is a step up. But all of this to say, I am not hating on LPSCon in any way. I'm just pointing out some flaws and some experiences people had, just because, you know, a lot of people traveled from all over the world to this LPSCon. It was the biggest one ever. It was supposed to be super amazing, and a lot of people had the absolute worst experience ever. It's okay to bring awareness to this, and it's something that needs to be talked about. I feel so bad for the people who traveled literally around the world for this one-day event just to have the worst experience ever, and I'm so sorry, guys. So on my plane ride home, I had some time to jot down some ideas I had for the convention. So LPSCon, if you're seeing this, please take these into consideration, and yes, this is meant to be constructive feedback. First of all, I don't really know if I need to say this, but a bigger venue. A lot of people were anxious about the venue size, and it did turn out to be way too small for the amount of people. So if you want to keep growing this convention, I suggest getting a bigger venue. Preferably one with more than one elevator too, and one with a very big area where you can move around. Vegas isn't cheap, nor is it family friendly, so maybe even switching the location to something like, I don't know, California might be more feasible, since a lot of people are also from California. I'm from Oregon, so I would say Oregon, but nobody really knows what that is, so. I literally paid for airport food in Oregon, and it was $12 for a burger. And then in Vegas at some random little restaurant, I paid $25 for one burger. So as you can see, there is a price jump, and that was just at an airport in Oregon for $12, and then a random place in Vegas for $25. And it was like a fast food burger in Vegas too. And it was the cheapest I could find. It was extremely tight, and I personally did not shop at the vendors too much until the very end of the day. I looked a little bit, but honestly I was too anxious and overwhelmed to actually shop and look at booths just because there was way too many people, so I kept retreating to the second floor and just hanging out there just because there was way too many on floor 1, or I went outside and just went in the heat just because it was way too crowded on floor 1. And you know, honestly, I'm usually good with like a lot of people around me, but that was just a little too much, and I had nowhere to like sit down. Even on the ground, like it was really hard to sit on the ground there because there was just so many people. Next, waiting in line. This was a whole nother thing upon itself, and honestly I can't even get into all the details in this video unless you want it to be like 2 hours long. But people had to wait outside in the heat with no shade, and obviously it was a hard little situation because it was a sidewalk, and I don't know if they could legally like put up umbrellas or anything like on there, so this was already difficult, and I think this could have been avoided if a better venue was picked in the first place. There are a lot of conventions with really big lobbies, and I think doing a little switchback line and then having queues would be so effective. I did a little sketch. I love looking at waiting lines and like the different types of waiting lines, so I came up with a good idea, LPSCon, and you know, y'all should implement this. Okay, here's my little sketch. So you enter through this as a little switchback line, so you zigzag. This is not only effective because it saves space, but it also is really good because the people waiting in it, they feel like the line is going faster. Then once you get to the end of the line, the person here, there will be like different queues, so I just drew 3 for an example, and they will go to the one that has the least amount of people. So right here, somebody would be here, and each of these lines checking bags and doing that. There could even be like 2 people at each table if possible. And then once they do that, they just move through in their same queues, still right here, stay in your lines, and their tickets would be checked, and they would get the correct passes and lanyards. There could even be a little Q&A person over here to help answer any questions, or if people want to upgrade passes or whatever, or questions or whatever. So please get a little indoor lobby waiting area so people don't have to wait out in the heat, and they can have a switchback line in an air-conditioned building. Because that was something that was hard to have in that building because there were so many people. At the beginning of the convention, they showed an instructional and a safety video, which was a really cute video, and I did like it. I enjoyed it. However, I couldn't really hear half of it just because there were so many people and you couldn't really get anyone's attention. But here's my idea. Put a little TV or a little projector in the line so people can watch this while they're waiting in line. It gives them something to do, it gives them entertainment, and they will actually pay more attention to the instructional videos. This is basically like a Disneyland system where you wait in a switchback line and then you get into those numbered queues at the end, and they usually have some sort of video playing in line, and it's very effective. Another idea, this one is simply my opinion, is no table switching. That was just very confusing. I didn't even participate in that. And if you get a bigger venue, then you can just add more tables, so that won't be needed. To my next point of more seating, which we sort of already covered that. And also free water. I don't think I need to expand much on that. I also feel like I don't need to say much about this, but having better goodie bags, upgrading the goodie bags, investing a little bit more in the goodie bags. If you continue to do those CC passes, definitely upgrading the goodie bags, or just honestly creating one standard ticket for maybe, I don't know, $69 or $79. So upping that price a little bit, but making sure that everyone has the same tier, where you can sort of meet in the middle, might be more effective. Because if there is only one tier of tickets, this might lead to a much smoother check-in process, because you don't have to worry, oh, are you a content creator or general admission? And it will also just allow everyone to go to the panels, because that's what happened this year anyways, because you know, there's a little bit of confusion everywhere. And if there's a bigger venue, you can have bigger panel rooms, which means literally everyone can go to that panel. This just makes a lot more sense in my opinion. So creating a little bit more of an expensive ticket than general admission and cheaper than CC, everyone can get the same perks, then that might be good. And I do understand that venues do cost money, but I'm saying like doing it somewhere else besides Vegas might be the move. And I know the host is from Vegas, but at the same time, I just don't think it's like a super family-friendly place or a cheap place to do this. So something I would also like to advocate for is more breaks for the VIPs. I know that they were very, very tired and it just seemed super stressful, and I wasn't even a VIP. I've never been a VIP, and honestly, just looking at them every year, I'm just like, dang, how do they do it? Because it's just so much talking, and honestly, really feel for them. So maybe giving them a more break and spacing it out, and making the convention start earlier and ending, you know, maybe around the same time or a little bit earlier. CC passes could get in at 11 a.m. this year, and GA could get in at 1 p.m., which is very late for a convention in my opinion. I usually think check-in is usually around like 9 to 10 a.m. and I get that they try to push it back this year because of the foam party, which you know, I'm not even going to go into that. I didn't go to it, but I've heard some things. And overall, I just think that having schedule consistency and better communication could help this convention grow. Before we move on to the pros of the cons, like not everything was bad. There were obviously a lot of good things, like meeting you guys, like that was the highlight. Meeting all of you guys were the sweetest. Everyone there is just so nice, and I was honestly blown away by everyone's kindness this year. The people really make it, and I just want to say thank you guys all blah, 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 I can speak. I just want to say thank you guys for just being so awesome and kind, and all the parents there were really sweet too. All the VIPs were so nice. Like that was my first time meeting a lot of them in person. And all the like LPS ambassadors that were there, like, oh, you guys are so nice. And all of you guys watching this and all the LPS fans, literally everyone there was the nicest people I've ever met. And like, I just want to cry because everyone there was really nice. And you know, that's a different type of like kindness right there at the convention. That made it worthwhile for me to go, and to say that this whole con wasn't like terrible. Like this was definitely a highlight, and I loved meeting every one of you guys like so much. Like it truly made it. That being said, there's also a link in the description box made by LPSNatalie. She has a little Google form where you can put in your experiences of LPSCon, and she's going to send that over to LPSCon so they can learn and grow from our feedback. Because as a marketing and business analytics major, I find it very important that people have a really important say, especially the customer, of whatever you're serving. In experiential marketing, like customer satisfaction is everything, and you don't really have a business if they're not satisfied. And I think that because of the amount of dissatisfaction I've seen online, that they're going to need to change a lot of their business strategy and everything if they want to make a comeback and regain people's trust, because right now people are really mad for like fraud and stuff like that. And yeah, I just really want the best for them because they have a good thing going, and I really don't want to see it crumble. So I'm hoping that they take this feedback and implement it. And LPSCon, if you need any help or advice, or if you just want to like understand some of my points better, like feel free to reach out to me. I would love to help you guys. Like I think you have a really great thing going, and I think that it just lost sight a little bit of the customer wants. That being said, let's make sure we keep the comments like a positive place, and you know, you can share feedback, but no hate will be tolerated, and I don't want you to attack anyone personally. So please keep that in mind. I will be monitoring the comments, so yes guys, let's be kind with our words because we're all human here. With that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful and magical day. Bye!